You keep seeing people doing this, finding things at thrift stores, flipping them online, and making real money. And you're wondering, why isn't it working for me? So you walk into a thrift store, rack after rack of clothes, and you don't even know where to start. Nothing stands out, and everything kind of looks the same. You grab something, check the tag, put it back. Grab the next one, put it back. You're not even sure what you're looking for. And then you see the prices, $10, $15, $20, and you're thinking, how is there even profit here? And again, how are other people doing this? And does this even actually work? Well, I'll tell you why.
Because you're doing it wrong.
And I get it, because I did the same exact thing. And I remember walking into thrift stores and leaving with not a single thing. Meanwhile, there's items that are sitting on these racks right now that are selling for $50, $80, even over $100. Well, my name is LeeMeier, and I've made over $100,000 net profit selling used clothes from thrift stores. And what changed everything for me wasn't learning more brands. It was from learning one thing: how to spot value. So in this video, we're going section by section through a thrift store, and I'm going to show you exactly what to look for. I'll show you which sections have the highest profit potential, which ones are the fastest and easiest to source, and where most people are completely leaving money behind. We're talking items left on the rack, even by experienced resellers.
All right, so we're headed in. We'll see what we find. Always grab a shopping cart. That tells your mind that you're gonna find stuff.
Of course, you also have to know when to leave empty-handed. That's definitely a skill.
So go ahead and put your hair up, because we're gonna get to work. So we're just gonna go to the left and work our way through the store. Usually I'm a little bit more strategic than this, but this is actually my first time in this store. So we're gonna figure things out as we go.
And first section, it looks like women's shoes.
The first thing I do whenever I enter any new section of the thrift store, I'm quickly scanning for anything that stands out. I'm looking for prints that jump out at me.
And I'm also looking for any solid brands.
And so I came across this pair of Searles, but unfortunately they are marked up quite a bit, so it doesn't leave too much room for profit. And I don't even have to filter down to solds to quickly see that there's just not enough profit margin there, with these being marked at $20.
But the thing about thrift stores is that they only know certain brands, and they only jack the price up on certain brands, but they still miss a lot less common brands or don't mark some up quite as much. And there's plenty of other items to be sourcing as well.
And then I spot these shiny gold penny loafers, pick them up, and I see that they're from the brand Fry, and they're like in almost perfect condition.
This is a really good example of an item where even though it's marked up in the thrift store, it's worth paying up for based on the total amount of money I'll make on these, not just the ROI.
Based on comparable sales, I'm pretty confident that I could easily 3 to 4x my investment in these. Now, to do this accurately, you really need to be doing it from your phone or from the desktop version of TerraPeak to be able to see when a best offer is accepted. But for this video's purposes, it's easiest to show this on my screen so you can actually see these items and how much they're approximately selling for.
If you want to know how to do that, it's super easy, and I show you how from your phone here.
And I'm definitely looking for quality of construction and materials. Anything that's leather, I'm gonna pick up and check out. And don't forget about the bottom and the top shelf. Those are the ones that are most commonly missed.
And I'm also scanning for anything that jumps out at me as a comfort shoe. These are some of the most overlooked shoe styles, and they're a good bread and butter item that sells for a decent amount as well as sells quickly.
And this is definitely a comfort brand to know and source. It does sell well.
And one thing that you'll want to pay attention to, especially with comfort shoes, is the words that they use. These are part of the marketing of these shoes.
Things like biomechanical footwear, those types of words usually indicate extra value. And anything that you see that's new with tags, definitely worth checking out. These are from Torrid and they are a very big size. That's another thing to pay attention to when you're sourcing, is bigger sizes do sell better and sell for more money. The comps on these are looking pretty good.
Now, when I'm looking up comps, I pretty much never try to find the exact same thing. I generally look more broadly for the brand and the item type. For example, with this item, just Torrid and shoes is enough to get a pretty good idea of how much they're selling for.
Another pair of comfort sandals here. These will be a quick sell. These are from the brand Orthofeet, and there is a pretty good following for these shoes. And I've been noticing that a lot of thrift stores have things that are just thrown in bins, like there's just not enough room on the shelf. And this is where you can find some good items that people just haven't dug through. Just like these engineer boots. I could tell immediately that they're leather. They have a deep stamp there in the bottom. That's the first indication before I ever even read the brand that this is a pair of quality leather boots.
These were marked at $25, but I took a gamble on these based on comps. I also have a few dollars of points from spending money from a previous trip, so that'll help lower the price a little bit. They're from a brand that's called Vintage Foundry, and it looks like they're selling for $75 to $80 for similar styles, maybe a little bit more than that if I'm lucky. Now, if you're needing help with knowing the names of different shoe styles like engineer boots, Litas, Diorce's, my shoe poster is super helpful to have those words that buyers are using right in front of you when you go to create your listings. You'll find that resource linked somewhere here on your screen as well as below this video.
In a single Timberland boot, maybe I can find the match. And I ended up finding that other pair at the top bin. Sorry for the view. Hashtag short people problems. I could barely reach them, but those will make a really good flip. I was surprised they were only marked up to $12.99 because another thrift store in my area had similar shoes from Timberland priced at $30. And these are in like new condition, so I'm very hopeful for the amount that I'll be able to get for these.
Now, the shoe section is one where I usually spend the most money, and I find that even in cases where prices are marked up a bit, there's still quite a bit of profit margin compared to what they're selling for online. Basically, it's kind of a spend more to make more kind of thing. And one of the things that I've also found is that shoes usually have one of the highest sell-through rates out of all the different clothing categories, meaning that they sell fast. Now, if you'd like to dive deeper into profiting from shoes like these, everything from cleaning to storing and shipping and uncovering hidden profits, then you'll want to check out my guide, Shoe Secrets.
Now, this was just the women's section. We haven't even made it to the men's, but there's easily $100+ of net profit already. These types of items can have some of the highest ROIs as well as sell quickly.
Again, here I'm looking for anything that stands out, that's just different, or that has a higher quality. So I'm always looking for those quality materials.
You can tell pretty easily which ones are leather and which ones are not just by touching. And so I did spot two men's Eddie Bauer messenger bags. One was fabric, but the other was leather, so we're getting that.
The next section is women's dresses, and this can be an area where a lot of profit is hiding.
And I always start with the biggest sizes because they're almost always worth more. And I'm looking for current styles for trends and for details that just stand out. I guess we're starting to get tired here. And I'm definitely looking for brands for fabrics that just feel quality, as well as for vintage items. This one is from Lane Bryant, and people generally pay more for these layering types of pieces. It's not a dress, but I did find it in the dress section. And that last dress I found was from Torrid. And those are some of my favorite bread and butter brands when it comes to women's plus size. And this is another piece from Lane Bryant, happens to be 50% off today, so we're getting that.
And you'll definitely want to think about aesthetics or looks that people are after.
And this is a really good example of an aesthetic that is trending hard. The whimsy goth look. This is a black velvet dress with huge bell sleeves. Definitely use the keywords of witchy and whimsy goth with items like this.
In fact, I'm always looking for velvet, especially black velvet, because these are one of the things that shoppers are really paying up for right now, even for unknown or lower value brands.
Now, quick note, even if an item fits with an aesthetic, even if it's new with tags, but it's a brand like this where it's just not a quality item, it's not going to be worth picking up, so don't waste your money. And another good whimsy goth item, this one has burnout velvet, as well as bell sleeves.
If you'd love to have these types of keywords at your listing station so you're not having to constantly try to remember them, then you're gonna love my style keywords that sell poster. I'll link that on the screen as well as below this video.
So that pretty much wraps up the women's dresses as far as the bigger sizes. The smaller sizes, I'll generally just run through those super quickly to see if anything stands out. And I do happen to see one that has a unique texture to it, and it is from the brand Cash or Cachet. I know sellers say that a couple different ways. But this is a really good throwback brand that's selling pretty well, and it's actually at 50% markdown today. So we're getting that.
Now, one thing to use caution with is with brands that you think are good.
So there's definitely brands out there that are going to be more money in the retail store, but they don't necessarily hold their value as well. And so this is a dress that I came across, and it is from Bowden, which you might think of as a good brand. But there's definitely items in it that do hold their resale value, just not this dress, so that's a pass. I was able to pick up a few dresses in this section, should be about $50 to $100 net profit.
Dresses and shoes are some of the higher profit items in the women's section, but we'll head to the women's tops next. They don't usually have quite as high a value, but we'll go ahead and check it out anyways. Now, sections like these where there's not usually a lot of profit, I'll quickly scan through these and basically just look for discounted tags. But I'm definitely keeping my eye out for fabrics and materials, aesthetics or different looks that I know that are trending, as well as things like layering pieces because those generally sell for a little bit more money. I also like to look for duplicates where more than one of the same item was donated. That happens more often than you think, and it can sometimes make a lower value item worth picking up because, for example, you would only have to create one listing to sell 3 items.
And on this trip, I did happen to come across a size 5X hoodie. Love finding those bigger sizes. And a little ways down the aisle, 2 more of the exact same thing. So this is the perfect example where it's a lower value item, but because I can pick up 3 of them, it makes it worth it.
And real quick, if you're watching this and thinking, okay, I kind of get this, but I'm not totally confident that I spot these kinds of things on my own, that's exactly where most people get stuck. Because it's one thing to see it in a video, and it's another thing to walk into a store and actually know what to pick up. And that's why I created the Empowered Reseller. Every month inside, we go deep into a specific category or style. So you're not guessing what's worth picking up. We cover what to look for, what actually sells, what to avoid, and the exact keywords that are getting these items found. And you're not doing this alone. You can ask questions, get feedback, and help when you're unsure about something. So instead of second guessing every item, you actually have a system and support behind what you're doing. I'll link it below if you want to check it out. But for now, let's keep going because this next one is a really good example of what I mean. And the other thing that I'm looking for in every single section that I visit is, of course, vintage tags. Anything that looks a little bit older, you can pretty easily recognize just looking at the tag alone. If it's got the words made in the USA, you can almost guarantee that it is a vintage item. With that said, though, there's lots and lots of vintage items that are not made in the USA, but that are still valuable.
I was able to pick up a handful of items in the women's tops section that should make me around $100 after seller fees, cost of goods, and expenses. And we'll take a quick detour to one of my favorite sections, women's bras.
Now, these niche sections can have a lot of hidden profit, including an item that I picked up on this trip for about $3.50, and it should sell for at least $75. Now with bras, there's certain things that I'm looking for. Yes, those bigger sizes, but also certain brands. Yes, everybody knows Victoria's Secret, including the thrift stores, and they usually mark those up. But this is a really good section where you can usually snag valuable brands that they don't recognize and therefore they don't mark up.
And right next to the bras, there's actually a super tiny section of sleepwear, and I spot this vintage rainbow seersucker nightgown. It's not a brand that you would immediately go, this is valuable, but I know from selling these in the past that these can be very valuable items, especially given that rainbow design as well as those pin tucks. It's comping out around $75. I could probably get a little bit more for it because I couldn't find the exact one. And this is a super unique design, so I might even price it over that price point. And it looks like somebody is about to go to sleep in the store. And this one is a Victoria's Secret, but it's actually not marked up too much and it is 50% off. So we'll go ahead and get that. And this is one of those brands that they don't usually mark up. These are super simple to spot. There's lots of different brands that have this same look. This one happens to be a LeeMeier, but there's Fantasy and there's other brands. The easiest way to spot these is with that vertical tag on the wing. They put their tags in a different place than almost every other brand. And the comps on these are pretty good. It's something that I don't have to look up, but here's a look at recent sales if you're wondering.
Now that one was a G cup, and that's something that you'll want to pay attention to. Bigger bands as well as bigger cup sizes almost always sell for more money. And that's the thing, once you've been doing this for a while, you shouldn't have to look up every item. I can pretty easily go in now, even without my phone, and feel confident knowing how much I can get for items and how much I'm gonna price them for.
Another underrated brand that a lot of resellers miss, this is actually a plus size brand called Cacique, and this is the Intimates line from Lane Bryant. I've had really good luck with selling bras from this brand, and especially when I come across a bra with a style like this. It's got the lace up front, metallic details. People are after those kinds of things. And just a little bit down the row, I actually come across another bra, same exact style, also from Cacique, and I do find that like items oftentimes get donated together, so definitely keep your eye out. If you see one, there's a good chance there's more there.
Now in the bra section, I got probably more than normal on a single trip, but I love them because they're super simple to photograph and list. Shipping is usually pretty inexpensive for these because they're light, and I rarely, if ever, get returns.
And these should be around $50 to $100 net profit.
Now, at this point, you're probably starting to see it, that it's not about the brand, it's not about the store, and it's definitely not about getting lucky. It's about knowing what to look for, how to spot value even when nothing stands out at first. And once that clicks, you stop walking past good items and you start seeing opportunities everywhere. And if you want help getting faster at this, knowing what to pick up, how to price it, and how to actually turn this into consistent sales, that's exactly what I help you with inside of the Empowered Reseller. I'll link it below if you want to check it out. But don't stop here. If you'd like to learn more about those aesthetics that I mentioned and the ones that are trending right now, then you're going to want to stick around for this next video. Just click or tap the screen and I'll show you the looks that are trending right now. Click here and I'll see you there.